our guest for today is actually a really long-time friend that I met back in college. We were studying psychology together. Throughout the years since college, I've been following his social media and his journey, and he went into Teach from Malaysia. When all of us were doing different things, right? Like corporate, we were fresh grads. So he took a very different path. And I thought that he'd be really interesting for us to talk to today.
So we started Small Talk for rather selfish reasons. We're just two friends who are constantly curious about this beautiful, crazy thing called life and how people navigate through it as we do ours.
We wanted to ask questions and learn everything from how people find true love online to dealing with cancer, and thought, why not share our learnings with everyone who's interested to learn and grow along the way. So this is us, creating conversations beyond small talk.
Thanks for having
joining
me.
us.
I've been following your journey throughout these few years, and I know that you went into Teach from Malaysia, and you're all about making a difference. How has your journey been so far?
How has my journey been? I think there's a lot to think about in terms of thinking who I was as a kind of graduate, fresh graduate coming out. Very bright-eyed coming into the world, working in corporate, enjoying myself. But a thought just sparked in my mind, like, what if I could do something more? What if my skills could make a difference in someone else's life, right? And partly also driven by my own faith, wanting to make sure that you're called to do good and make sure people around you are impacted. And so I kind of took a leap of faith. It was quite a big leap of faith. My dad didn't really agree, but I took a leap of faith back then in 2011 and decided to teach in an underprivileged school. And I joined Teach from Malaysia. I think the journey for me, if I could summarize it, it's been quite life-changing. I think it's impacted who I am as a person, what I care about, things I talk about, priorities in life, thinking between pursuing a really high-flying or money-generating career versus...
Because you were from corporate.
And then my dad also was very...
So talking about your dad, how did you try to convince him that I'm going to be taking this route?
My dad... because my dad was corporate his whole life, right? So when I was in corporate, he had this very funny thing he said. He said, like, oh, by the time you're 30, you should be earning like 15 grand a month.
Wow, okay.
Like, in which currency?
Rupiah.
I don't know, it's crazy, 15 grand. I'm like 32, I don't earn 15 grand. So he had a lot of concerns, and there was this point where he was very like, oh, is this all the young people nowadays want to go and save the world, go and do all these things, and he didn't want me to make a very rash decision. So I kind of said, like, in other countries, because Teach from Malaysia is not just in Malaysia, other countries, the program actually offers a lot of future career prospects, joining big corporates like McKinsey,
and for here?
Malaysia as well. So the partners of McKinsey sit on our board of trustees. We work with PwC and CIMB.
And I've been told that it's good to have TFM on their resume.
Because it looks very different. You can be a top performing graduate, but how many people can say that you've impacted the lives of 150 kids in an underprivileged school? So I told my dad a bit of that, and he's like, okay,
so those tick the...
it ticked his boxes.
Right.
At the back of my mind, it ticked some of my boxes because I also had those fears. But interesting, after 2 years, I never really turned back.
So Ken, tell us more about Teach from Malaysia, and what do you do exactly there?
Teach from Malaysia, we are a non-profit organisation, so we work collaboratively with the Ministry of Education in Malaysia to tackle mainly the issue of education inequity, where a child doesn't get equal opportunities in education. So we recruit graduates and young professionals to place them as full-time teachers in underprivileged schools.
And for 2 years, right?
Yeah, for 2 years. And I think the work that I do is I lead the team that looks for these talents. So I'm very, very passionate about speaking to young graduates, very passionate about doing talks and trying to change the mindset of the graduate market that's coming out. And so I lead a team of about 8 people. We do lots of career fairs, awareness activities.
Nice.
Oh, you're part of as an option, right?
Head of Talent Acquisition.
Head of Talent Acquisition, yeah.
What are some of the things that you look for in a possible fellow?
Possible fellow. So I think leadership, strong communicators, people that are quite driven. But I think the main thing that is quite distinctive for Teacher Malaysia is looking for people with the right heart and attitude. So
important.
yeah, what are you looking for? What do you want to change about Malaysia? Like how are you coming into this? I think humility is quite a big thing as well.
So, share with us one of the most challenging things about being part of TFM.
When I first left corporate, there was definitely a paradigm shift, or at least an environment shift that I was prepared for.
Also, you were prepared for it.
Yeah, because I was kind of like, okay, if you want to go and do good, if you want to really impact communities, you really have to experience different communities. I think the thing that was the hardest for me is just knowing what education inequity looks like. And that for me just kind of challenged so many paradigms, because I think I came from a pretty decent school, Damansara, similar to you guys as well. We were all in kind of very high performing bubble of people that everybody...
Yeah, in like an urban neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Every other person went to university, we came from a kind of middle or upper middle class, wasn't exposed to that much poverty, I would say. And I guess the most challenging thing for me was when I was in school, my thought was like, how come students can't succeed? How come they're not paying attention in the classroom? How come they're not pushing themselves to higher limits? And actually there was just so many factors. Their community, beliefs, mindsets, peers, coming from single parent homes. A lot of poor communities have broken families. A lot of poor communities have a lot of things happening behind the scenes that you don't really see. Because in the classroom it's kind of the iceberg theory from like psychology, where you only see why they're misbehaving, but there's just so many things, and that challenged me for the first 6 months because I was just shocked.
And that's also slightly beyond your control.
Exactly.
It's beyond school borders, right?
How could a student not have enough money to kind of put food on the table, and students left school at Form 3 because they had to go and work.
Must be a big culture shock for you, even.
Yeah, it was. Not only the education part, actually I saw it on an island. Actually, the community was
You
also...
were at Pulau Ketam.
Also, it was a steep learning curve for me because so first language Hokkien, second language Mandarin, third language Malay, then fourth language English.
So do you speak any of the first two languages?
No, my Malay also was like that only. So yeah, the first 6 months was crazy. It was like a chicken and a duck talking, like 老师啊，他拿我的笔. And I was like, why? What are you saying? And they're fighting with each other. And like, but I used Google Translate and I picked it up.
Technology.
Yes. So I think just coming face to face with that challenge about paradigms, but also I guess it wasn't very straightforward because in school, all growing up, it's like you work hard to see the results. But for some students, working hard didn't necessarily produce results. If you were Form 4 and you couldn't read and write, so some Form 4 students were doing like Peter and Jane, Book 1A, 2A, and you were supposed to sit for SPM next year. There's only a certain amount of hard you can work now. So that for me was very, very challenging. And so I guess the challenges you're kind of like working in was more of like literacy, reading, mindsets.
And I would think the connection with them as well, right? Because it's like this is like a tight-knit community. But
in a sense, lacking a lot of exposure, I would say, because in a way you're on an island and not many people in their community has actually gone tertiary education or has done tertiary education. Most parents there own small businesses, are fishermen, so they also don't know how to, in a way, not that they don't want good for their kids, just they don't know how to challenge their kids to greater heights, right? It makes you think as a teacher, wow, like what can I do, right? So this was me just thinking and like, okay, I need to go and have conversations and need to make sure that this kid's okay because...
Do you have a lot of that where you would spend your after hours going to their homes?
We do a lot of young child after school.
With kids, with the kids.
I play basketball with kids. I like playing basketball.
You're like the cool teacher.
Yeah, I think I am. With students, I also run extra classes free for them, and that was the time that I got to know them a lot better and just kind of ask them questions about like, what's your family like? What's holding you back? What are you worried and anxious about? Yeah, that's kind of when you know the weight that they're carrying, so that in the class you actually see them very differently.
Right. Not just a teacher, you're like a counselor as well.
I think kids need so much.
So just curious. So you would not be placed in one school on your own. There will be a few teachers.
Yeah, usually not.
Oh, at least you have the support.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think for us it's a kind of cluster mindset of we put 2 or 3, and hopefully the years after we put another 2 or 3, another 2 or 3. factoring in like where the vacancies are. Like, so we don't want to kind of displace teachers, but at the same time we want to have enough people that is able to change a culture. But I would say, especially in more challenging schools, what happens to teachers is that they get very demotivated because you don't have the resources. The students are also not as easy.
You're talking about the
Teachers.
the resident teachers? Or?
Yeah, so the
Okay.
teachers that are there, and also when we come in, so we realize that the motivation of teachers are not as, they don't think
So,
about.
right.
Yeah, they don't think
Big
about
picture
bringing kids to national competitions
Right.
and all
There's
that.
no
It's
innovation. It's just like
just
a
day-to-day job.
day-to-day, like a business as usual kind of thing for them.
Yeah, part of me thinks it's really not their fault in a way because
Like you say, resources will lack. Right?
most teachers are jaded, I would say. 'Cause
Yeah.
after many years,
Yeah.
you try really hard, you're
And no
pushing,
changes.
no support and things like that. So interestingly, when we come in, we're very gung ho, right? We're just like, oh, we want to change. We want
New breed,
to.
new breed. Yeah.
Yeah, and then all the other teachers are looking at us like, oh, okay.
Oh,
like,
just
chill.
wait a few days,
Yeah.
a few, yeah.
Yeah. But also then there's a vice versa sort of culture shift. So when we started kind of like trying to dream bigger, trying to do more, then other teachers also started like,
Yeah,
It's
"Ooh."
just
the
like
energy.
you guys just bring in that
energy.
that new energy and that innovation part of it.
Yeah, so TFM sort of target a lot of fresh grads, right? And TFM is supposed to empower them to contribute and give back to the community. So, and also one of the things that fresh grads do look into while considering TFM as an option is financial security.
Yep.
So the question is there financial security in being a fellow at TFM?
You're asking whether TFM is a lucrative option. I think definitely not. Whether TFM is enough, I think we've seen enough fellows go through the program to definitely know that it's possible. So a few differences. So I used to work in corporate, earn probably 40-50% more than when I went into TFM. So TFM teachers, most of them when they go in, they all get fresh graduate teacher salaries. So
So it would match.
yeah, so
The government.
similar to other government
Okay.
teachers, maybe there's a 100 or 200 difference. So you usually end up with about 2.8, 2.6 to 2.8, like roughly around there.
So that's matching the government teachers.
So government teachers will get maybe 100-200 more because they have a degree in education.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, that's not too bad.
yeah, so our fellows will get about 2.6 to 2.8. I think the main difference is that the cost of living is very different depending on where you're placed.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's
Yeah, so that makes quite a big to the sustainability and kind of financials to it.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty not bad because my first job, I remember, I was only paid 2,200
in the city.
2,200 in the city.
Yeah.
Yep. And I had a car and oh my gosh.
So my 2 years was amazing. It was like 3 years working in corporate in KPMG. I saved maybe like 6,000, 8,000 working for 3 years. 2 years working as a teacher in an underprivileged school, I saved about 10 grand.
Nice.
Wow.
So it's almost like I don't know.
Because of the lifestyle change.
It's because there's no Starbucks, there's there's
Unnecessary
no
lifestyle
cafes.
stuff.
no cafes.
No avocado toast.
Every meal is
Oh,
like
that's right.
$5.50 for like
Nice.
zap fan or something like that.
Like
And
amazing seafood.
It's a
good
different
seafood.
lifestyle, right?
Yeah, and then you don't have a car because I just had a bicycle that I just
Wow.
paid $200 for and I just go around.
So what you're trying to say, Ken, is that it's not only, for fresh grads to consider being a TFM fellow, is not only to consider the monthly salary, but also the bigger picture in perspective in terms of what you're contributing and how much you're getting in return. Right?
Yeah.
Besides being a TFM fellow, I'm just thinking out loud, even for myself, from a personal point of view. I don't think I want to be a teacher or spend the next 2 years of my life being a teacher. How can I contribute more to TFM? How can other Malaysians contribute to TFM?
I think there's so much that teaching teaches you and shapes you as a person. So our target audience is usually fresh graduates because we want, we're not stopping you from the amazing careers that you might go, but I think what we want is for you to experience what making a difference or what teaching in an underprivileged school is like. And if you're passionate about education, then you continue, and if you're passionate about other things, then you venture into other areas with that experience that kind of like guides you.
Life skills that you've acquired, right?
So that's kind of for the target audience. But we, I think, realize that it takes a village to raise a child. So it's not just teachers, it's communities, it's government, it's corporates, it's the general public. And so we encourage a lot of collaboration. We try and work with as many NGOs and corporates. I think if you're not at that stage where you want to teach or you want to be a teacher, I think what I'd encourage you to do is two things. One is if you're stable financially, do invest in educational things, right? So Teach for Malaysia is one of those non-profits. There's lots of others that do, whether it's in your community, they have like extra classes, or whether there's something that you can invest in orang asli education. There's always things you can give to. And also if you're in corporate, we work with a lot of companies to do CSR programs, trying to not only shift employee engagement, but also there are corporates that fund us as part of our program. I think for the general public, it's actually, I think the thing that really changes you is just the exposure.
So true. I mean, I'm just recalling, I think just less than a year ago, Teach for Malaysia engaged me to kind of volunteer for a day. Remember
you
that?
went to teach in a school.
I did.
We call it Teach for Malaysia Week.
Yes, Teach for Malaysia Week.
Yeah, we try and get people who have been successful or in different kind of spheres. So sometimes corporate.
And seeing the connection that I needed to build and the rapport that I needed to build with the students in such a short span of time, that was challenging.
Yes,
that
attention span is so short.
Yeah, it was. But I was also so surprised by the level of awareness the kids these days have. And I was so inspired. I mean, as much as they thought that they were learning from me, I think I learned so much more from them. Right? Just by how they were talking about their dreams and their ambition, and all they needed was just a little bit of push, and immediately they got it. Right? And so many students had that day, and it was just incredible. That really changed my perspective.
I think it's not about coming in on a white horse saying like I'm here to save you, but actually it's just there to kind of share experiences, because you learn a lot, you humble yourself, but also you allow students to have an opportunity to dream bigger.
Nice. So Teach for Malaysia is really about empowering our future generations, right? So being a new daddy, right? How has that experience your impact on your own future generation?
It's a whole new definition of as a parent, there's so much that you need to provide for your kid, but also not be those kind of helicopter parents and allow them to fail. I was reading an article that the biggest thing you can teach your kid is how to fail, how to fail well, and for them to learn. Because I think the challenge for a kid who doesn't know how to fail is that they actually go through life in a bit of a bubble and just sugar things. And for me, it's like, okay, just let him eat dirt and then he'll get sick once, and then he'll be okay after that. So I think it's a journey, similar to how I used to be teaching, and that's a journey for me to development.
Thank you for joining us at Small Talk today. We hope you gained some new insights in today's episode. Feel free to share this with your loved ones and your friends.
We're also always looking for new topics for Small Talk. Feel free to share your ideas at smalltalkasia@gmail.com. Join us on the next episode.